Hello, friends. It's Chop now.
Yeah,
And
back to the
this is a war of attrition, and Virgil's also right. You can forget about the brokered convention, any of that.
Yes.
Any of that,
Yeah.
like that strategizing about delegate. Now it is just purely about who gets the most delegates going into the convention.
It's a delegate right. Okay, so this is a totally different now. And back to your original point, that was plan A, was it was going to be a knockout punch, kind of like in 2004 with John Kerry, that would put the nomination out of the reach of everyone but Bernie Sanders, and possibly a contested convention, because of course that's what everyone was freaking out about 2 weeks ago. Now it's 2008 all over again.
Yep.
And this is it's a 1v1 heads up match, no and it is. And it's now get ready for delegate math. Get ready for all the fucking delegate math fucking bullshit that I know Matt and I fucking sat through all through 2008.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Now every state counts, and now running up the score in every state counts.
Yes.
Now it's not about momentum. It's not about, doing so well in certain states that you're going to get the fence sitters, to come and join your campaign. Because as we know, Bernie Sanders is the insurgent candidate. He fucking won Nevada by huge margin. And shortly thereafter, Harry Reid endorsed Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's just like the upper echelons of the Democratic Party elite and the people who fund them, Obama and all the party grandees. I'm sure they sat everyone down and they made the offers, and they figured out the game theory about how this really works, and they did the Brendel-Fly teleporter thing, and Joe Biden stepped out, and now he is all of their DNA, all of their their disgusting blob of flesh and organs has coalesced into Joe Biden, and he is the consensus establishment candidate. It is both disturbing and terrifying how quickly that mass of flesh and organs congealed together to win a lot of those states and delegates on Super Tuesday.
Yes.
And with Klob and Buttigieg and they're just dropping out and endorsing, he's the guy now. And it was looking like Bernie Sanders was going to get that knockout punch on Super Tuesday. That didn't happen, but here's what you have to keep in mind.
And I don't think that there's any reason to believe that the phenomenon of people paying attention to seeing Joe Biden, hearing about his record,
yes,
and really confronting him as the possible candidate leads to his numbers going down. And I don't see any reason to believe it won't happen again, because he's the same guy, with the same record and the same presentation that caused the collapse in early stages.
Everything that the outcome by perseverating.
Everything that Bernie Sanders has already done and built in this campaign is designed perfectly to form a contrast with just Joe Biden.
Yeah.
His entire career, the things he currently stands for, the things he currently pretends to stand for. It is a perfect machine of juxtaposition between these two guys, and it is a contrast that resounds heavily in your favor. And you should be very confident about that going forward. And like I said, train all fire on the Joe Biden superstar destroyer.
Depending on who you're talking to, either he will lose or he's going to take away your Social Security.
Yeah.
And,
he said he would.
And
he
guess
said
what?
It all the time. He loved talking
Guess
about
what?
it.
I mean, we already bodied Booker, Beto, Buttigieg, Warren, Harris. Here's the tricky part, though. None of Joe's followers are on Twitter.
No.
So
sorry. The posting wars have been complete. It is a new front now.
Yeah, we have opened a new front. That being said, still post hard against Joe Biden.
Don't talk to Mama and Papa.
Yeah, you can still post hard against Joe Biden. Post hard against the journalists who say anything nice about it.
Also,
those are the people that are online. Those are who you can train your fire on. But this is a completely different now, and it is a knockdown fight. It is a war of attrition to the convention for every single delegate in every single state.
And something else that's important to realize now is now it's important for everyone to organize in all 50 states and all territories and in D.C. because it being a delegate contest now, it matters not just that Bernie Sanders win a state, but that he win a state by a big margin.
Right.
That means everything that you do in this zero-sum game of Bernie versus Joe Biden, any undecided voter or someone who is not going to vote, you can get to go to the polls and vote for Bernie Sanders. That contributes to increasing Bernie Sanders' delegate margin against Joe Biden.
Yes.
Yeah, and we are headed back to New York today, The New York primary is in April, and it's going to be huge. And we're going to take everything that we've all the skills that we've trained and learned on the road, and going to apply it right in our own backyard. Knowing my beloved home state as well as I do, I can tell you it is going to be very hard to beat Joe Biden in New York State because it is such a Democratic Party fucking horror show. They have got everything stitched up so good in that state. However, it is not undoable, and we're going to do it. And we're going to hit it hard with all the shit that we've done on tour back in our home field advantage for Bernie Sanders in New York State. And there's a shitload of delegates there to be had.
I will be buying a megaphone.
Yeah.
So that I can continue my life's mission now to drive around and yell at people in every state in the union.
Just one more before we go off, leave the Bernie versus Biden thing. I saw this clip on Twitter today that I retweeted that I think is just so revealing in a few ways. And it's Joe Biden talking to CNN in 2016 about how Bernie Sanders accurately reflects the will of the Democratic base. And I'll put the clip in, but the other thing that's revealing about it is like listening to Joe Biden talk in 2016 versus talking now is night and day. And I think that those two things combined, that he accurately in 2016 knew what the will of the party was, what the will of the voters were, what made Bernie Sanders such a good candidate, and is now actively campaigning against it, plus him being cogent 4 years ago and incogent now is really, it's really revealing. I mean, I'll play it for you guys. I don't know if you have any commentary on it, but I'll insert it in the episode.
You know, if Bernie Sanders never said he was a democratic socialist, based on what he's saying, people wouldn't be calling him a democratic socialist. That's how he characterizes himself in sort of European terms, the democratic socialist parties in Europe.
But why is she having trouble?
Well, I think that Bernie is speaking to a yearning that is deep and real, and he has credibility on it. And that is the absolute enormous concentration of wealth in a small group of people with the middle class now being able to be shown being left out. There used to be a basic bargain. If you contributed to the profitability of an enterprise, you got to share in the profit. That's been broken. Productivity's up, wages are
but
stagnant.
Hillary's talking about that as well.
Well, it's relatively new for Hillary to talk about that. Hillary's focus has been on other things up to now, and that's been Bernie's. No one questions Bernie's authenticity on those issues.
And they question hers, you think?
Well, I think they question everybody.
Anyway, I'll let it play out. I don't know. I thought that his ability to identify the thing that is happening here and then still 4 years later run against it is interesting.
And just
Also, holy shit, that's from 2016. He declined very rapidly.
Yeah. The other thing I'll mention, just to echo that clip, is something Matt Karp said the other day, where it's just like the things that Bernie is campaigning on are not radical by any global standard. I know, like, that many of his supporters and listeners to the show, we have our radical dreams of a better,
They're radical dudes.
like leftist politics and world. We're beginning here, but what he is offering is just the bare minimum of healthcare, labor, and environmental standards that like every other modern industrialized country in the world takes for granted. And if you are opposed to that, and by that I mean pretty much the entire Democratic Party, it is because you are right wing. You are reactionary in your politics if you are against these very basic things like raising taxes on the wealthy to pay for things like healthcare, infrastructure, education.
Well, I want to get away from that though, because like this is not an argument that like is going to be useful at the doors. Like I just don't think that the people we're talking to, it's like, you know, those people are right wing because if they believe that that's all that's possible, they'll go for that just to beat Trump. So saying that this person is in this camp and this person is in that camp doesn't, I mean, it really only appeals to kind of political subculturalists who are looking for a camp. I think the thing to do is to say, Bernie is offering something that we deserve and that is possible. And I don't think the label really means that much to people at this point. I mean, after Trump, I mean, think about all the weird reasons that people voted for Donald Trump. Some of them for they thought he was going to bring back manufacturing. Some of them
That lady
are
who
racist.
thought he was going to end the pit bull Holocaust.
Yeah. And it continues. Every day.
Every day.
Continues. So I think the thing is to remember is that people are actually pretty politically idiosyncratic, and these camps mean more to kind of, media people, even outsider media people like us, than they do to the average person.
No, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
She has 12 delegates, I think.
Drop out,
like
bitch.
80.
Oh yeah, but she got
Ish.
12 delegates last night on Super Tuesday.
She got a few more than that.
Okay,
More than 12.
all right, but
She only had
It's piddling.
8 going into it. Is the thing.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's nothing.
It's-
She got third in her home state. It was
it's
frankly a
nothing.
humiliating loss.
And she finished third in her home state of Massachusetts, but lost. If she had not been in there, Bernie would have won Massachusetts, Minnesota, Maine, and probably one other state that I'm not.
Texas.
Texas.
She's
Yes.
just the fuck Bernie candidate,
No, and
as
it-
you
and-
said yesterday.
Yes, and it has been obvious for at least a month and probably longer than that she has absolutely no path to the nomination. That nobody's voting for her. That she will not ever finish higher than third place. And this idea that if only we personally or you were nicer to her and her supporters, that you could have prevented this, is absolute horseshit. If we had been angelic to her in our treatment and discussion of her as a politician and her character, she still would have done exactly what she did last night. And the idea that she is going to still stick in this is so absurd and mind-boggling that it could not be more fucking obvious what's going on here. And this idea that we've made her into Hillary Clinton and we've alienated her supporters. Basically what they're saying is we personally and Bernie Sanders supporters should have lied more about who Elizabeth Warren is and what her campaign represents, and that would have prevented her from stealing 3 or 4 states from Bernie Sanders last night. The idea that if only we hadn't called her a snake or brought up the fact that she'd been lying about being a Native American for most of her adult life, or voted for Reagan during the AIDS crisis, that it would have changed. It would have made her drop out and endorse Bernie. It's just everything we saw last night proves that if anything, we were too nice to her.
We, I think, collectively were all, to some flavor or another, hostile to her even being in the first place, and thought she was bad because we all knew Bernie was the only option. But I honestly did think you don't want to be too hostile because presumably these voters are eventually going to be needed to be brought over to Bernie. So, I mean, I fucking held my tongue about her way more than I wanted to for that very reason.
Well, and you follow to some degree or another, the directive of the campaign, which did not go hard on Warren.
Yeah.
Every single person who cast a vote for Elizabeth Warren last night voted for Joe Biden.
Yeah. Obviously. I mean,
there's
it's the same logic that they've used a million times in every other fucking, and it still applies. A multi-way, you've got a progressive and a conservative option, and you pick some third one out of some weird, misguided, personalized political vision. Guess what? You voted for
or just because
the
people are
worst one.
fucking airheads.
Yeah.
Dude, I think we cannot completely underestimate the airheads.
People are very
The
dumb.
Warren machine is definitely these bloodless PMC monsters who thinks politics is like an alumni mixer. But there's also just kind of vacant dodo birds who don't know what's going on. And we can get those. There's still a few of those.
It's staff writers for TV shows called something like The Limit on Sci-Fi.
That sounds great.
But I'm not sure when this episode is coming out. We're recording Wednesday afternoon here, and right now we're just sort of waiting for it to come over on the transom that Elizabeth Warren has formally suspended her campaign. And what I've been seeing all day is a lot of these people who said, I was with Warren for, the past 9 months, but now I'm donating to Bernie and I'm proud to support Bernie Sanders. Yep, good. Okay, better late than never, especially now that we will need all hands on deck in order to defeat Joe Biden.
But let's also be clear, even if Elizabeth Warren does drop out, I would bet almost anything that she is not going to endorse Bernie Sanders.
I doubt it.
She's going to endorse Biden.
Yeah.
honestly.
I don't think she would
I don't think
endorse
she'll
either.
endorse
I think
anyone.
I will
I think
go
she'll-
no endorsement.
I think she'll probably do no endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is functionally the same thing
This is
as
functionally
endorsing.
the same thing,
It's the same thing
yes.
as endorsing Biden.
She's taking her orders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
what
no,
she's
no.
doing.
She did what she was told. And should they get Biden across the finish line as the nominee, who will then go on to lose to Donald Trump, she will go down in history as the person
Yeah,
who is
good
maybe
for you, Lizzie. You were just following orders.
Yeah. She will go down in history as a person who is maybe most individually responsible for stopping the popular hopes and dreams of not just an entire generation of people, but like an entire
A country
country.
and a million other countries that we affect.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some breaking news. In the middle of this recording, Team Warren published a Medium post.
It's the perfect
where
place for
all
them to write.
people who are going through some stuff go to express themselves. By Roger Lau. Let me read this part to you guys.
What is his capacity in the Warren?
I don't know. Comms director.
I
or
think
something,
he's the
assume?
campaign manager, Roger Lau.
Yeah,
And he's on fucking Medium.
he's on Medium. Yes,
That is cringe already.
All right, so this is a little bit. It's not very long. This is just part of it. Last night we fell well short of our viability goals and projections, and we are disappointed in the results. We're still waiting for more results to come in to get a better sense of the final delegate math. And we also all know that it's been extremely volatile in recent weeks and days, with frontrunners changing at a pretty rapid pace. But we are obviously disappointed, and Elizabeth is talking with our team to assess the path forward.
Roger Lau, I believe, is the guy who keeps posting Baghdad Bob type shit about how great Warren's doing.
Yeah, I'm sure. All of us have worked for Elizabeth long enough to know that she isn't a lifetime politician and doesn't think like one. She's going to take time right now to think
That's
through the right way
clearly.
to continue this fight. There's a lot at stake for this country and the millions of people who are falling further and further behind. This decision is in her hands, and it's important that she has the time and space to consider what's
Drop
coming
out,
next.
bitch.
Elizabeth,
So essentially, this is a call for self-care. This is a call for everyone to let Warren
She's
have
at
some me time.
capacity right now.
She's at capacity. She's out of spoons, and you need to give her some time to re-spoonify.
You know what?
Elizabeth Warren isn't a career politician. She doesn't have political instincts or know how to win elections.
Or
and
a
I'm
career.
I'm not a career campaign manager. My last job was at Blockbuster. Yeah, there's still some of them.
Here's another thing to bring up about Elizabeth Warren. Like her sort of origin story as a Democratic politician was her opposition to the Joe Biden bankruptcy bill, which is another just atrocious thing that needs to be tied around Joe Biden's neck like a fucking anchor and then throw him overboard with it.
Yeah.
She has spent like much of her political career as a Democrat or as a national figure, writing, lobbying, fighting against all of the things that Joe Biden has helped do, particularly in the banking and financial sector. What she did last night will go down in history probably as maybe the most effective weapon Joe Biden has ever wielded against a popular left movement in this country. So, I mean, just put that in perspective when you think about Elizabeth Warren and what she was willing to do and what she actually believes in.
I'm looking at his Twitter right now, and it's so cringe. There's so many exclamation points. I'm so happy to be in Michigan tonight. He's just like retweeting her, and then his pinned tweet is apparently a little girl saying, I can see her outside of Elizabeth Warren's voting location. It's so cringe. His thing is campaign guy at Warren for president. I think it's a hedgehog. He, him, Statue of Liberty, and then text fight to 2477. This man is a loser. This man is a born loser.
He's a loser, folks.
I cannot believe someone this fucking corny. Ugh.
I can imagine one man more corny, and that is Twitter celebrity, I guess, and Warren supporter Chuck Wendig, who had an amazing thread, I believe the day before Super Tuesday, where he said, imagine a Warren presidency where she tucks you in at night and gives you chocolate milk and all the insane fantasy bullshit we've talked about.
Perverts.
So now, though, it's a day
Perverts.
later, and he's feeling a little frazzled, as we all are, because, it didn't go too well for him. And he says, Wednesday, the day you flumpty foo, and you think boopity boop and zippity zoom. But the truth is, razza frazza wuzza wuzza. What I'm trying to say is, maybe your brain isn't working either, but that's okay because you're great. P.S. You need a firmware upgrade in the form of coffee.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though.
He would be soy facing the entire time.
I know. I mean, like for her,
You've made your last soy face today, sir.
for her, like utterly delusional supporters, many of whom I think genuinely were thinking she was going to turn it around on Super Tuesday after people saw what a great debater she was, or finally read about her fucking plans or whatever. But this idea that it didn't go as planned, I'm sorry for Elizabeth Warren and her people. It went exactly as planned.
Yeah, I mean, to believe otherwise is to believe that they are as dumb as their supporters, and that's a terrifying.
I think
thought.
she's that dumb now.
I mean, I don't know what's going on in her brain. I don't get her at all. I honestly
think
don't.
she is following orders, but I think there's a part of her that's so high on her own supply right now where she's like, I mean, after last night, I don't think so as much. There's got to be, she's clearly taking a moment to take a bubble bath or whatever.
Calgon, take me away.
I think for a while there, she was just like, we could still do it. And she was following orders, but I think there's this weird idea. I mean, you saw this happen, right? You saw her, and you're going to see it with some other politicians, by the way. You saw someone start out with, let's say, good intentions, and they have an idea, and they have a thing,
some of the right
and
ideas,
they have a program that they want to see instated because they believe that this is the thing that's going to make things better. And very, very slowly, they themselves become the program.
Right. Yes.
And I mean, it's like a classic power corrupts kind of thing. Except she's not even in power.
Pathetic.
It's like the possibility of power corrupting.
Yeah.
And think about someone like Bernie who's been doing the same thing forever and failing and having no reward. And like that's kind of like this slow, steady build of a political career of someone who's just like chugging along, stays the course. That's the only thing you can trust. An up and comer with a lot of hot new ideas. Watch them; they'll lose their fucking mind. Youth is not an advantage, by the way.